Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Risk with Dr. Naveen Agarwal. Each week, we talk about a topic related to risk management of medical devices in a very casual and informal way. This is not a webinar or lecture. Rather, our goal is to talk about key topics and challenges in a very informal way and share best practices. I'm your host, Naveen Agarwal, and I'm the principal and founder at Achieve, where my personal mission is to help you achieve success in risk management. My guest in this episode is Jennifer Mascioli-Tudor. She is the founder and principal consultant at JMT Compliance, where she's helping medical device and pharmaceutical companies with quality and regulatory consulting services. In this conversation, we are talking about three big trends that are happening in our space. The first one is transition to quality management system regulation by the FDA. The second one is about cybersecurity, and the third one is about lab development tests or LDTs. It's a very casual conversation about these three big trends in our space and what we should be doing as risk practitioners in a proactive way to help our own organizations get ready. We had this conversation in front of a live audience as part of our weekly LinkedIn live audio event. You're about to hear a recording of our conversation. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining our Let's Talk Risk discussion. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Jennifer Mascioli today, and we're going to have a very interesting discussion today, slightly different, but very, very relevant to what we do. As we all know, guys, things are changing fast in our world, right? Things are happening very, very quickly. It's hard to keep up sometimes. So Jennifer today is going to talk to us about three key trends that are emerging that we should keep an eye on and really be proactive about them. So I hope you will enjoy this conversation, but more important, when I invite you to participate, please raise your hand and become part of this conversation because you have so many things to share and don't hold back. Please share what you have in mind. It doesn't have to be a question. It can be a comment. It can be a perspective or an insight on these three new trends that we're going to talk about. So with that, Jennifer, I'm so excited to welcome you. Please start by introducing yourself to our audience today.
Thank you, Naveen. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Jennifer Mascioli-Tudor, and I am super passionate about quality and regulatory. I've been in this space for over 20 years, working for companies such as Johnson & Johnson, Medtronic, Boston Scientific, and some small startups as well. I'm currently the founder and CEO of JMT Compliance Consulting. So I took a leap of faith and I'm now out on my own, where I focus really on partnering with small MedTech startups to help them with business and regulatory and quality strategy. I also teach at UC San Diego, where I teach regulatory fundamentals and design controls. So again, really passionate about the space.
That is awesome. And you have seen a lot in your career. You have experienced a lot, and you are able to kind of process this information, I think, from many different directions. And that's why I'm so excited to hear the three new trends that you want us to focus on today. So could you please start by the first one that you want to talk about today?
Yeah, and I just want to highlight, Naveen, you mentioned this, and I just want to reiterate that what we know today is that the landscape is changing significantly from a regulatory perspective. It's almost too hard to keep up. And so one of the things that we need to do as an industry is just to stay super proactive. Mm-hmm. So having these sessions that you're holding, these informal chats, just helps us as a community really understand the impact across our business. We know there's a lot happening, but like you said, I wanted to focus on three main trends that I believe as risk practitioners, we really need to be aware of. The first one, and it's probably not too much of a surprise, is the shift from the quality system regulation to the quality management system regulation. And so I'm sure many of you know that as of January, the FDA basically released the final rule. And so what does this mean to us? We have a 2-year transition timeline. We've already eaten about a month. So if you haven't started thinking about it, you really need to really start thinking about it now, because 2 years is really not a long time. And when we think about it from a risk perspective, and I know that you've published a lot of information relative to this, in the current QSR, we really don't have a lot of detail around risk. It's sort of peppered in the regulation, but it's not as clear as what's stated in ISO 13485.
Yeah.
So if you're an organization that is not 13485 certified, and this is your first entree in, the lift is going to be huge. So that's one thing as I'm looking through, and there's some other changes as well, but I believe that's the biggest shift that I've seen across all of the literature that I've read. That's something we need to be really paying attention to.
So let me quickly ask you about that, Jennifer, because I know obviously it's going to be a big change in our industry, and many people are beginning to think about it. From your perspective, if you were to advise colleagues in the industry, what should they be doing now to prepare?
They need to be educating themselves and getting their hands on as much literature and data as they can. And I know it's hard because people are strapped for resources.
Yeah.
I know budgets are tight, but there's a lot of resources that people are publishing for free that we can get our hands on as regulatory and quality leaders. It behooves us to do that. So, we can talk about establishing a robust quality plan and making sure that the organization has awareness now and weaving it into quality management reviews and making sure leadership knows it's coming.
Yeah.
So really preparation and being proactive in this regard is our best line of defense. So again, my call to action is don't wait. Don't think that 2 years is a long time. It's not. It really benefits the organization to start now. And if it's just learning about what the changes are, that's a great step forward.
I agree. And what I would add to that is, as part of our community, it's also important for us to hear from colleagues the challenges or the questions they are facing. As we begin to learn about it, as we begin to implement it, the more questions we hear back, the better we will be in a position to discuss them and find some common answers.
That's just right. Continuous improvement, right?
Yeah. So I think it's on all of us. I think it's on all of us to sort of collaborate and don't feel like we are alone in our organizations. And now, we work in quality. So now we are being asked, you go figure it out. You go fix it. Don't feel like we are alone because we are in it together and we have so many resources. I see in the audience, so many people who have experience in this area and are active. I would encourage people to reach out to them. Guys, did you know that anyone who is attending today that is in the panel, you can send them a message. Even if you are not connected, don't spam them, but connect with them and collaborate. So that's another thing we can do. So I know, Jennifer, we can talk about QMSR for a long time, but I want to hear the second one from you. What is the second trend in your mind that we should pay attention to?
So the second one is around cybersecurity. And again, this is probably not coming as a surprise because FDA released a guidance document in September of 23. They've now released sort of an addendum or, call for comments just this month on that same guidance. And so this is becoming a big source of, I don't know if frustration is the right word, but just really how do we interpret this? So some things for us to consider as we think about cybersecurity. Are your medical devices compliant with the new stringent FDA requirements? What are the 510K submission requirements that we have to think about? Do you have working knowledge? So coming back to your point, Naveen, in terms of, as a community, how do we look at this collectively? And then really understanding how it impacts the business. And the risk piece is huge, right? Because now you have to start thinking about cyber all the way at the very beginning of your design and development planning versus before, perhaps it was towards the tail end. Now you really have to make sure you're weaving that in. So when you actually submit to FDA, they don't reject your initial review because you don't have the cybersecurity requirements. So this is becoming a big ticket item that we need to solve for quickly.
So on that one, Jennifer, does it matter if I don't have software? Let's say of course, it's unrealistic to say that there'll be no software in my medical device because software is becoming so essential. But let's say we are working with a device which is purely hardware or maybe a disposable product. Do we have to worry about cybersecurity?
If it's not connected, right? The whole thing is around connectivity and making sure that you don't have any potential opportunities for breach. So it's all around being able to protect the patient, protect the data. And so if there's no way to breach that and there's no way to connect, then the software component and the cybersecurity is sort of moot. But as you said, we're moving into sort of an environment where we're now pretty much in a software world. A lot of people want to drive connectivity because they want to collect so much data. to get back to the organization, understand how the product is performing, the reliability. So I think we're moving into a world where this is going to become just part of our business.
And this is a good point, because one of our Friday conversations was with Randy Horton a few weeks ago, and he talked about connected devices. Actually, a lot of data is moving in the cloud.
Yes.
So we are doing so much, and we have to think about cybersecurity and security in general in a new way. So that's a great one to highlight. All right, let's keep moving. How about the third one that you have in mind?
So the other one is a little, maybe not as popular or common, but it's around lab developed tests. And so LDTs as an acronym, and this is becoming a huge pain point for the industry, because it's not something that was regulated before.
Yeah.
We all know the story with Theranos in terms of the lab tests that they developed. And that really started the conversation from an FDA perspective in terms of how are we regulating and ensuring patient safety with these LDTs. And so fast forward to, today, now there's going to be a lot more scrutiny and regulation around LDTs. And this is causing panic. It's causing confusion. There's just a lot of questions with respect to the overall impact to industry. So to me, this is something that we need to be even if you're not in the LDT world or IVD, this is something that as an industry, we need to really be aware of the evolution, the shifting that's happened across the space. Because who knows sort of where it will go, right? It could start there and then sort of permeate across other parts. So I believe that this is another one that is a very important key trend to watch over the next, a year, 2 years, 3 years as it evolves.
So I'm also hearing a lot of pushback from the industry on this. Do you know where it's going and whether FDA is going to even somewhat relent on it, or they are marching ahead pretty much?
I mean, from everything that I read, FDA is pretty firm in terms of their position on this. I mean, certainly there's always opportunity to provide comment from industry, but as we saw with the QMSR, even industry comments were sort of, brushed aside on some of the elements. But good news is they allowed an extra year for transition time. But again, FDA is going to sort of hold firm in terms of any issue that potentially could cause patient impact or patient safety impact. So I think with this one, time will tell, but right now it seems pretty firm in terms of, their expectations with respect to governance around this.
And Jennifer, at the high level, big picture, this kind of reminds me of IVDR in Europe. Like they're going through a big change, and I keep hearing that IVDR implementation timeline is getting postponed all the time. Right. So I guess we are living in a world where regulatory environment is changing fast. I think that's a key message here, is all across the world, people are changing and we are having to keep up. And I think the only way to keep up, as you have emphasized, is be proactive, be prepared, invest the time in learning about them, connecting with others. So guys, this is such a good setup for us to have a conversation. I know we have a fairly short group today. One reason being that this is a Thursday, not a Friday. Many people just show up on Friday. But I invite you to kind of take advantage of this opportunity and engage with us in a conversation. So I'm going to start inviting you to just raise your hand virtually. Bijan, you are requesting to speak, so here you are. And guys, you don't have to wait your turn. You can indicate your...
Do I have echo again or not?
I can hear you, Bijan. Go ahead.
Gosh, yeah. Is there an echo too, or is it good this time?
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, good to meet you, Jennifer. I was thinking about the cybersecurity question, and generally people think about cybersecurity with respect to electronic devices and connectivity, but there is another way that medical devices can become insecure, and that is physical access, which is not talked about in cybersecurity. So a person can physically access a device and tamper with it without electronic connectivity, and that could still create a security breach. Just another avenue, but seems like it's not talked about much.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just in terms of, if you don't secure whether it's, a big piece of capital or what have you, if you don't secure it appropriately, someone could come in and basically adulterate it, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah. And to me, it seems people might have difficulty in updating the software, for example. right? If it's not connected, So you still have to sort of figure out a way to update your software. And if there's a physical connection, I think that's what, Bijan, I'm hearing you say, that it doesn't have to be connected to the network. And I wonder, Jennifer, if you have had a chance to see some of this in the guidance, if you're able to speak to in terms of what FDA is thinking about briefly.
I haven't seen anything specifically around cybersecurity, but there's a whole bunch of governance around installation and servicing requirements. So if you have to go and update anything in the field, you have to have pretty strict requirements, both sort of from an FDA perspective, and they talk about that, but also internally to make sure that you're managing your fleet of inventory that's the customer owned, right? That you have procedures and processes to make sure it's done consistently. You verified and validated any changes that you're making. And probably most importantly, when you're going and updating anything in the field, you're not inadvertently executing a recall. So you have to make sure from a risk perspective that everything's evaluated and assessed to make sure you're not actually going out there to fix a problem that potentially could lead to patient injury. So there's a whole bunch of stuff around when you have to go in and actually do updates to something that's already procured from the customer, but not necessarily linked to cybersecurity. It's not to say that it won't. My sense is that eventually we'll tie the knot.
Yeah.
But at this point, I've seen them sort of mutually exclusive right now.
Yeah. So guys, I know we are a small group today, but you are welcome to raise your hand and share what you have in mind. Do you have any questions about any of these three topics that we are talking about today? QMSR, cybersecurity, and the LDTs, or any other topic in your mind? Again, this is supposed to be a very casual conversation. So Bijan, hang in there. Please unmute your mic and, share if you have any additional thoughts. Bijan, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no additional thoughts. My main point was about cybersecurity, which is mainly focused on software, but what I was referring to actually was non-software based devices. And security of non-software based devices is also could be compromised if there is tampering, and I think that's an area that should be also addressed, even though it's not software, but it's still some kind of a security of the device.
I got you. So the point here is security as a broader topic for risk management, and cybersecurity being sort of a part of it, a special part of it. Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, so looks like we have a pretty quiet bunch today, Jennifer. I think you and I will have to keep talking because we do have to really. Just jokes apart, guys. This is supposed to be fun. So whatever on your mind, please share with us.
Jennifer, tell us about your university teaching.
Sure. So I teach at the University of San Diego, but it's the extension program. So basically it's focused on the regulatory certification program, and it's a variety of people. My students range from, folks that are actually pursuing a master's degree to FDA employees. So it's a great opportunity to just learn from each other. It's introductory classes. So the class I'm teaching right now is design controls, and it goes end to end. So it really walks the students through how to think about design planning all the way to manufacturing transfer and commercial release, post-market. And it's a really, really good program. So I'll just plug UC San Diego, extremely well organized. And if anybody wants information after this, please feel free to reach out.
And I know, Bijan, you also teach at the university, so I'm still going to invite you to share what you're doing at Drexel.
Yes, I also teach. Actually, I teach in 3 universities, 2 in Europe and 1 in America. And the one in America is at Drexel University, and I teach a graduate course in biomedical engineering. The section that I teach is my area of expertise, which is risk management, of course. But I also teach in Europe, in the Netherlands, a graduate course for doctoral students in engineering and in risk management for medical devices.
Wonderful. So, it's important. It's good to see that risk management is now being taken a little bit more seriously, even in academic settings. We need more programs like, Jennifer, what you're talking about and what Bijan just described. But, let me open the floor with that question then. We have so many people in the audience who might be wondering about, how to learn about risk management and what to do. How are you guys going about improving your risk management sort of skills, capabilities, credentials, whatnot? And what gaps do you see? I think that's a question I will pose to the audience if you would like to participate in that discussion and share your thoughts. But Ed, I know you are requesting to speak, so I'm going to bring you on here, and please unmute your mic. Share what you have in mind.
Well, I was just going to add to the university programs or something a little bit different for maybe some of the students. There's a program called Pathways for Patient Health that offers college programs in quality for both pharmaceutical and medical devices, and that program is free for the students to increase interest in the quality area, although it does include regulatory affairs as well. So there's a number of courses available there, and it's a very interesting program. They had yesterday that program had one webinar on the QMSR by Eric Henry, who's a Washington, D.C. Employee of a law firm who is not a lawyer, but he's a quality and regulatory expert, and was a very good program. Anyway, Pathways for Patient Health is a program you might look for, especially if you know someone that's a college student that might have some small interest in that area. And we do have students from around the world. I've mentored a couple of students from Africa in that program.
Great. So I think what I would request again, Jennifer, Ed, and Bijan, if you could send me a link to these programs, I can post those links here in this event page so people can access those programs and learn more about them. That way we can share this information broadly. So Ed, thank you for sharing. Ed, while I have you on stage here, today we are talking about those three big topics. QMSR, of course, we started with, and then we talked about cybersecurity. We talked about LDTs, and I know you are so active in this field at the cutting edge of what's happening. And I want to invite you also to share your thoughts about some of these three top trends that we are thinking will affect risk practitioners. Anything you would want to share on that?
Well, I will start with the QMSR because the QMSR, the FDA's intentions, strong intentions, by the way, are to increase their focus on risk management throughout the quality system, more than just what they did in the current QSR, where it is risk analysis in design validation. The new focus is going to be risk management throughout the entire quality system. And if you read the proposed rule, the final rule, it gives you the detail on what they're looking at. But I would strongly encourage anybody that is selling into the U.S. to get that copy of the final rule now. Read the entire thing from beginning to end, because they have what was called the preamble in the QSR, all the comments and their responses on things that they intend to do.
Yeah.
And risk management is a couple of strong comments in there, 9 and 19, and a couple others. So they're going to increase the focus on purchasing risk, on human factors risk, on documentation of the entire process. So it's something that we all need to look at, and you need to look at it now, and then do a gap analysis between your present quality system and what the QMSR is going to require, because it won't go into effect until the 2nd of February, 2026. You need to maintain your focus on the QSR until that date, which is kind of clunky for us.
Yeah.
But what we need to do is do this gap analysis, establish a quality plan for how we're going to switch and how we're going to have it verified and validated to make sure that on the 2nd of February 2026, we can flip the switch, have everybody trained and turn it on. But it's going to be an interesting process.
Let me ask you that, though, and I think, Jennifer, I would like you to comment also. This question about flipping the switch on February 2026, is there any problem? And again, I'm asking this because I'm not a regulatory person, right? If you prepare well, and if you have already moved to, like, say, I don't know, upgraded your current system or moved to QMSR compliance already before February 2026, is there any harm in you flipping that switch early? So I don't know if I'm asking the question correctly or not. Will you be non-compliant to QSR just because you moved to QMSR before February 2026? Jennifer.
I can go ahead and, I can go ahead and answer. I agree with that with respect to the quality plan. Making sure you have a very robust quality plan. That's something that's also audit facing as well, that you can share with auditors just as a continuous improvement initiative. But if you're ISO 13485 certified, you're already sort of playing in that space anyway. So you're not really changing too much. If you're not ISO 13485, then there is a shift in terms of the risk management. But I wouldn't see it as a deficiency as long as you're maintaining status quo with the existing 820 QMSR. Gotcha. You're not deviating from that, right? But if you're optimizing and sort of improving and showing that through your quality plan, I don't see FDA would have any issue with that at all.
How about you, Ed? Do you have any additional perspective?
Yeah,
on this?
they have several presentations I've been in. They have indicated that they will be inspecting to the QSR until that date, and that you should maintain the linkage to the QSR until that date. And they kind of have said that kind of in an interesting manner, that they expect you to not switch over to the QMSR until that date is what their presentations have said. But as we've indicated here, there are ways of making sure that you're still compliant to the QSR. There's things like, that they're gonna change the DMR and the DHF and some of those file constructs, but you're still going to have the documentation, and I think you can point to it pretty easily. But there's some other issues in there that they point out in the final rule, and that's why I caution everybody to read the entire thing from front to back. The printout from the Federal Register is 33 pages. 3 pages of what is the regulation, 30 pages is the comment.
Yes.
So there's a lot of information there, and that's telling you what the FDA's thinking is going to be when they start.
Yeah.
Now, I know also, just to go back to the 14971 thing, basically, since they announced the proposed rule in, 2022, they have been training employees inside the FDA, both pre-market, the people that are looking at your submissions, and the post-market, the people that are doing the inspections on 1345 and also 14971. They are training their people on the risk management standard. And that training will be ongoing up until the switchover date, I know for sure.
So what I'm hearing you say, Ed, is that FDA is training their people in these two standards. It makes sense for us to also become pretty familiar with these standards in our work because they would be expecting that, right? So great, guys. Again, time flies, right? We are almost at the end of our 30 minutes. So I'm going to give Jennifer just a couple of minutes to collect her thoughts for sharing 2 or 3 key takeaway points. I'm going to, again, share a few announcements with you. This was a deviation from our regular schedule. We are going to be meeting again on Friday, moving forward, beginning next week again. Today we had to do it because there was a scheduling issue ahead, but I do really appreciate you showing up despite this change. I love the fact that you are showing up and you are participating in these discussions, finding them useful. What I will tell you is it is happening because of your contribution, your participation. So reach out to me anytime if you have any comments, suggestions for feedback, or if you want to be a guest speaker. No preparation is required, by the way, in these sessions. We just connect and there's no script, there's no planning. We just show up and start talking about it. That's what we are trying to do. So if you are interested, just let me know. Finally, if you miss, Arkaj, you are requesting to speak, and I never say no to anybody who raises their hand. But while I bring you on stage here, let me also finally share with you guys that if you miss any of these sessions, the recordings are available on the Let's Talk Risk website. And the link to that is in this events page right now where we are, and you can subscribe to that newsletter. So Arkaj, very briefly, I'm going to invite you to share what you have in mind. We are running against the clock here. So go ahead, please. Arkaj, could you please unmute your mic and share what you have in mind?
Hello, good morning. Is everyone audible?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to know what was the third trend that we discussed?
Okay, Jennifer, do you want to just briefly recap that?
Yeah, it's the laboratory developed tests. So there's quite a bit of discussion around how to regulate those. Those were not historically regulated. And so the whole notion of how FDA is looking to regulate this on a go-forward basis. The acronym is LDT, just in case you search it up. LDT is also a common search term.
Arkaj, does it make sense?
So the LDT is almost equal to like a GMP.
No, it's a lab developed test. So it's actually the test. Yeah, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say, Arkaj, is that the system in the US, when they develop a lot of tests, are done in a lab, not necessarily in a company that has to go through a QMS or comply with FDA. There are requirements. There are some regulations around lab development tests. But the issue here is that FDA wants to now start regulating them as devices, which will change the whole game for these labs who are developing tests, and they'll have to establish a lot of big complicated QMS systems. So it's a trend to watch. I don't think the dust has settled on it, right, Jennifer? There's still news to come.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we said at the very beginning is we're in a big evolution of things that are coming down the pike. And so we just have to continue to watch, monitor.
So it would be more relevant for people who are working in the IVD space or lab development tests, that this whole world is changing. And Arkaj, we have had some conversations on IVDs in the past here, and knowing that you might be interested, we will focus on this topic in our coming session. So thanks again, guys. With that, Jennifer, if you could share with us just 2 or 3 key takeaways from today's conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Naveen. The big call to action in my mind, and Ed and a couple others have mentioned this, is really just it's time to educate ourselves, right? Especially around the QMSR. Educate ourselves, get the regulation, get the guidance documents, familiarize yourself with all the content the FDA is publishing, whether it's free webinars through consultants. There's just a wealth of information. Be proactive in this space. Make sure that you're not waiting or sitting on your hands waiting for someone to tell you. This is the time to really proactively go out and source information. So that's really my call to action. I think if you sort of employ that thought methodology, everything will follow suit in terms of assessment, implementation, and making sure that you're successful as an organization.
Excellent point, Jennifer. And before I let you go, I really want you to tell people about the event that you are going to host and start hosting this series where they can become a part of that, some more conversation on these topics.
Sure. So equal, but a little bit separate. I'm starting what I'm calling a career catalyst circle. So this is where we really focus on building community, but building community in the sense that if people are, seeking a career transition or in career transition, or just curious about different roles that people have, had throughout their career, it's similar to this format where it's very conversational, very informal, but it gets a group of people together at all levels, of professional career phases, if you will, and let's just have a conversation. So I'm really excited about it. Again, it's just about building community and making sure that we can leverage our community when we're in sort of these times of transition.
Wonderful. And that'll be a great opportunity for people to network and also learn about career options, have their questions answered. And you are going to bring so much experience, not just from your perspective, but also through your guest speakers. So I really wish you success in that effort, Jennifer. I'm here to support you. Yeah, I'm here to support you. And guys in the audience, take advantage of these opportunities that are being made available to you. We have so much going on, and we are here to help and support. With that, everybody, thank you so much again for showing up, even though it was a schedule change. I appreciate you being here, and I look forward to connecting with you once again next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.